Today we're going to talk a little bit about the Disability Awareness Badge for the Beavers. As we go through this, I'm going to explain a little bit about how you can relate this badge to other badges. We're going to start with explain what a disability is. Obviously, you should cover the fact that there are mental disabilities as well as physical disabilities. You don't have to go very in depth, I believe, with this really, because beavers just need a sort of general idea of things. And that some people you see in public who might look odd and might elicit stares are actually just very unfortunate people who are dealing and coping with disabilities basically. um, However, you think this one might relate to things like global issues or health and fitness, but they don't, unfortunately. So we have to move on from this particular one without it affecting anything else really. The only link that I know to this first one would be the My Skills Challenge Award, and this covering the finding out 5 new facts that you didn't know before. Although obviously it depends how deep in depth you want to go in this. Um, this also doesn't really reflect on things too much like the My World Challenge Award, unless, for example, you have some kind of physical activity visiting, um, you know, uh, a charity that deals with disability awareness and things like that, at which point it might count from the My World Challenge Award. But for now, we're going to move on to the next one, which is find out about a Paralympian and their sport, tell a story about their achievements. This does actually play into at least one of the badge, that being mostly the sort of health and fitness badge, and that's mostly in terms of promoting proper exercise by telling the story of the Paralympians and things like that. That's kind of tangential, given that the point of these kinds of stories is not so much about exercise as it is about overcoming obstacles. And the other direct link from this one would be the sports activity badge, at which point, if this Paralympian is, you know, um, if you're going to specifically their sport and understanding the rules and how it changes or doesn't change depending on if they're Paralympian or an Olympian, that would count towards parts of the sports activity badge. And if you're actually running the sports activity badge, I would recommend covering Paralympians in that just to make sure you tick off this if possible, because it's quite an easy one to double up on. Visit an activity centre or playground for people with disabilities. Again, you could link this to the sports activity badge if it's some kind of match or competition going on, that you had some ability to participate in. That would go towards it. But mostly this is for sort of awareness. And as I mentioned before, um, in the awards, in the My World Challenge, there is part of that which is sort of being active in your local community and visiting some, youth or community leaders. And I'd say that visiting an activity centre like this and talking to people who run it potentially would be one good way of doing that. Um, Especially if you actually make this a moment of reflection, that could also um, contribute to the My World Challenge award as well towards the Chief Scouts Bronze Award. Moving on, we have the talk about your meeting place, how it could be made better so everyone can take part. This is actually quite an interesting one because it's one of the only requirements I've seen really in the Beaver section towards the U-Shape Award. If you don't know about the U-Shape Award, it's one of the more recent additions to the programme. It's to do with youth members of the organisation actually making real differences in terms of how we run scouting. I would say that by um, doing something along this lines and thinking about ways to actually improve um, the meeting place that your beavers go to, it would certainly count for the core central badge of the U-Shape Award, potentially some other parts such as lead, although it really depends on how this manifests itself. if you do it in teams, at which point that would also contribute potentially to the Teamwork Challenge Award. Because the U-Shape Award is so recent, its requirements changed drastically by not only section, but the practicality of what it means to sort of improve scouting in a local area means that, in my personal opinion, that leaders should really award the U-Shape Award for whatever they think is sort of fit and makes sense, really, rather than sticking too much to the requirements on the website of the badge and badges. Um, One thing to note is that the U-Shape Award is a sectional award. It actually doesn't persist across sections, and as you go through the sections, it becomes more difficult to earn different parts of the U-Shape Award. So um, I'd say focus more upon it if it did transfer between sections, but since it doesn't, I'd say treat the U-Shape Award pretty much like any other activity badge. Whereas the Chief Scout's Bronze Award is a sort of a top award. It's more debatable as to whether the U-Shape Award is or isn't. Although, of course, making sure that youth members of Scouting have a say is important. With Beavers, it's a little bit beyond the scope of a Beaver Scout to do such. At the bottom here, we have make a poster that tells others about a disability. Choose something that's not mentioned later in numbers 3, 4, 2, 3, or 4 rather. This is worth mentioning because this does actually lead into a different activity badge. I believe it would potentially move towards the Community Impact badge, which is a stage badge and does transfer between sections when they move up to Cubs and Scouts, etc. And it's certainly one to think about. However, to get even level 1 of the Community Impact badge, you need to do 3 months worth of work in terms of promoting your local community. So this would certainly apply here if you really stretched this out and made it more than just making a poster. Although, actually, in terms of poster, this does count towards things like the creative activity badge, which requires you to craft or construct something. And I'd say that a poster is definitely on that list of things. Um, Other than creative, it might contribute potentially to let me think. I'm not sure what else it would do. I have some notes here, but I think actually creative might be. Oh no, the creative challenge award as well. Um, Potentially the My Skills one, where making a card or making a poster can count towards the My Skills Challenge award here, which obviously counts towards the Chief Scouts Bronze Award. That's everything for this. Hopefully that was useful. And obviously, this is a very important badge, disability awareness, especially for young people. It really can influence how they see the world and how they interact with people around them who have disabilities. Making sure that people are aware that generally people who may stand out, they aren't odd. They just probably have, different disabilities that they're handling in their own ways. And obviously, kid staring is something that can put a lot of people off, or make them feel like a little bit alienated. So making sure that you teach even Beaver Scouts about how to behave around people who have disabilities is important. That's everything. Hopefully that's been useful. Bye bye.